Welcome to Wreaths Day. Please take a minute to silence your cell phones, including me, because we don't want to interrupt today's ceremony. Hoping everybody is here that needs to be here. My name is Heather Sanford, and I am the Wreaths Across America location coordinator for today's event. I'm also the regent of the Church and Canon chapter of the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution. And for those of you who are not familiar with the DAR, we are a non-political organization founded in 1890. Our mission is to serve through historic preservation, education, and patriotism. And every DAR member is descendant of at least one patriot of the American Revolution. Many of them are very first veterans. For those of you who are visitors today, you may not realize that Springfield is the site of the Forgotten Victory, where on June 23rd, 1780, colonial forces stopped British and Hessian troops from advancing through Hobart's Gap to attack General George Washington and his men in Morristown. After the battle, the Crown forces set fire to Springfield on their retreat to Elizabethtown. The Presbyterian church was one of those buildings that was destroyed, and our very own Cannonball House just down the street was one of only 4 buildings left standing. On behalf of Wreaths Across America, I would like to thank the First Presbyterian Church of Springfield for allowing us to hold our ceremony here. And I would like to also thank all of you for joining us as we celebrate the mission to remember the fallen, honor those that serve and their families, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. Our invocation will be given by Reverend Jen Van Sant.
It's an honor to be here today. I get choked up at moments like this. My family came in 1649, so I am one of you in some way, shape, or form. I've not been the pastor here since 1749, although some days it feels like it. But it is a privilege to have you all here today, so if you would bow your heads. Loving and living Lord, as we gather in honor and remembrance of those who have given their lives to protect our then brand new nation, we remember and honor those who went into battle, not knowing if they would return alive or even wounded, let alone to their home or their families, who selfishly gave all of what they had to protect all others' freedoms. We ask you to be with us as we once again honor their patriotism, their courage, their faith, and their might, especially in this holiday season as we seek to give thanks for them and their bravery as we lay wreaths in honor of their service. May their descendants here and elsewhere, as well as fellow military, find the courage and inspiration to continue to serve our country and fight for the freedom we enjoy because of their service. We thank you for this great country and your providential care over us as you have sustained us through many difficult times in our history. Bless this day, and may we all find your spirit encouraging and blessing us in this hour. And let all God's people say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Will you all please join with me in a moment of silence to remember the fallen, the prisoners of war, and those missing in action, and to honor those who have served and are serving in this nation's great armed forces. Thank you. If you are able, please rise to attention and remain standing with your hand over your heart as the flag passes. And please remain standing until after the Pledge of Allegiance. Union High School's award-winning JROTC will now present the colors.
Color guard, arms, color guard, hold, of face, wreaths and arms.
to continue and expand the annual wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, begun by Maine businessman Morrill Worcester in 1992. Whereas Wreaths Across America's mission is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation about the true cost of freedom. Whereas Wreaths Across America is made up of more than 4,900 participating locations across the country, run by dedicated volunteers looking to share in the mission to remember, honor, teach through annual wreath-laying ceremonies each December and awareness education events throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Harris Laufer, Deputy Mayor, Township of Springfield, New Jersey, do hereby proclaim December 14th, 2024 as National Wreaths Across America Day in the Township of Springfield, and extend thanks and appreciation to our veterans and Gold Star families for their service and sacrifice, and to Wreaths Across America for bringing this honor to our community. Thank you.
Back in 1992, the Worcester family of Harrington, Maine, owners of their own Balsam Wreath Farm, had a surplus of wreaths during the holiday season. With the aid of former Maine Senator Olympia Snow, Karen and Morrill Worcester were allowed to place those 5,000 spare wreaths at graves in Arlington National Cemetery in areas that received the fewest visitors every year. This quiet annual tribute went on for years until in 2005, a photo of the stones at Arlington, adorned with wreaths and covered in snow, circulated around the internet. Suddenly, the project received national attention. Thousands of requests poured in from all over the country, from people wanting to help lay wreaths at Arlington, or to bring the Arlington project to their local cemetery. So in 2007, the family started the nonprofit Wreaths Across America, and in September 2019, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution officially became a corporate sponsor. This year, across the country, at 4,909 participating locations like this one, there are millions of Americans gathering as one nation to remember, honor, and teach. The freedoms that we enjoy today have not come without a price. Lying in cemeteries throughout the world are 1.3 million Americans who gave their lives in battle so that we can live in freedom. Their sacrifice to keep us free will not be forgotten, because we shall remember. Today we reflect on our nation's veterans and active duty service members who continue to fight to protect the innocent and oppressed. Many of you here today have answered that call and are serving your country well. We honor you and your families for the sacrifices you make each day to keep our country safe from terrorism, hatred, and injustice, and for this we say thank you. Quoting our 40th United States President Ronald Reagan, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. Today, we show a united front of gratitude and respect across the United States as we remember the fallen, honor those who serve in their families, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. Will those placing the ceremonial wreaths please retrieve them at this time? If you have served or are serving, I invite you, if able, to stand and salute as the wreath representing your branch of the service is presented. First Sergeant Eric Martinez will place the Veterans Wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Army. Corporal Sean Croker will place the Veterans Wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Aldo Rosario will place a Veterans Wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Navy. Chief Master Sergeant Carl Ostergood Jr. will place a wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Air Force. First Sergeant Gerald Schemmel will place a veteran's wreath in honor of those who served and are serving in the United States Space Force. Petty Officer Joshua Horn will be placing a veteran's wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Coast Guard. American Legion Post 228 Commander Dr. Geraldine McManus will place a veteran's wreath in memory of those who served and are serving in the United States Merchant Marine. Sergeant First Class Randy McIyer will place a veteran's wreath in honor of the nearly 82,000 United States servicemen and women from all branches of the service whose last known status was either prisoner of war or missing in action. These individuals have never returned to their families and homes, and we shall not forget them. Thank you. You may return to your seats. Do we have any Gold Star family members today here who would like to say your loved one's name and have them recognized? Would you please stand? Would you please stand if you have served or are currently serving in the military so we may appreciate you? We have some thank you notes that we would like to pass out. On. Nancy, ladies, any help on the out? We collected these thank you notes as we were doing our street fair, and some of them are coloring pages from the children, and we'd just like to distribute them to you to see how much we appreciate it. Last year, we had a rather large ceremony over at the high school. If you have any Vietnam veterans here today who were not at that ceremony, would you please raise your hand and let us know? Cassandra? Yes, thank you. Bonnie over here. Come on. You may be seated. The goal of Wreaths Across America is to honor every American veteran. In addition to the 4,909 locations in the United States, there are 26 American cemeteries overseas that are holding ceremonies, plus Guam, the Virgin Islands, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. The Church and Canon chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution owns the small Revolutionary War era cemetery where we will be placing 5 wreaths on the graves of those who fought for our independence. Our cemetery chairwoman, Linda Jerzak, has been a member of the Church and Canon chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution for 33 years. In addition to being a valued chapter member, she's also the state vice regent, New Jersey Daughters of the American Revolution, and she works at the First Presbyterian Church. So she is the very best person to be telling you about the two cemeteries that we will be visiting today. So Mrs. Jerzak, if you would please come up and tell us about this.
In 1717, the Stites family established their farm on the property where the high school now stands, all the way to the center of town and beyond. As was the custom, families designated a section of their property to bury their dead. We presume that they allowed their neighbors to also use the burial grounds, as there are no known familial connection to later burials in what is now known as the DAR Battleground Cemetery. Many of you have attended our annual commemoration of the Battle of Springfield, when we specifically remember those veterans who defended our country, our community, and our freedom during the Revolutionary War. The First Presbyterian Church was founded in 1745, about a half a mile from this current location, what is now Milburn. The current location was established in 1761. The church maintains two burial grounds. The section on Church Mall, where we will be laying the wreaths today, is often referred to as the Revolutionary Cemetery or the Presbyterian Churchyard. It began as a public burial ground and was donated to the church by the Taylor family in 1755. Land purchases were made over time to increase the size of the Presbyterian Cemetery, and until Route 78 divided the church owned by the property in the 1960s, both sections were along Main Street from Springfield to Milburn, right along here, went straight down to Milburn. The earliest church records were destroyed when the church was burned to the foundation during the Battle of Springfield on June 23rd, 1780. However, historians documented all the known burials based on the stone still standing in 1901. Since then, many stones have been destroyed by weather or felled trees and are now illegible. Because it is difficult to read the names on many stones, we will say them now so that we may thank them. So we will thank them individually for their service, and there are 39 that we know of, and several no longer have a marker. As I say the names, you will note that there are many surnames that are the same as many of the familiar Springfield residents, as well as streets named after many of these early families. Samuel Allen, Samuel Bailey, David Ball, Uzel Ball, Henry Butterworth, Thomas Cooper, Isaac Denton, Matthias Denton, Philip Denton, Stephen Denton, Aaron Edwards, Nathaniel Edwards, Thomas Gardner, Thomas Gardner Jr., William Gardner, Isaac Halsey, Joseph Halsey, Aaron Hand, David Hand, James Higgins, Eliakim Littell, John Lum, Elijah Lyon, Joseph Lyon, Benjamin Meeker, John Meeker, Samuel Miller, Timothy Miller, Benjamin Morehouse, Henry Osborne, Isaac Reeve, Benjamin Scudder, Walter Smith, Thomas Taylor, Joseph Tucker, Daniel Breland, James Whitehead, Caleb Woodruff. Stephen Woodruff. And there is one missing from this list, and that is the Battleground Cemetery is Captain Jacob Brookfield, Captain Joseph Horton, Private Daniel Reeve, Captain Abraham Woolley, and the unknown soldiers killed during the Battle of Springfield on June 23rd, 1780. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Madam State Vice Regent. The theme for our Wreaths Across America ceremony this year is Live with Purpose. Chief Master Sergeant Carl M. Ostergaard Jr., American Legion Continental Post 228 Adjutant, will give our keynote address. Chief Master Sergeant.
So thank you, Heather, and the American Revolution, and thank you, Sandy and Jerry, and Vicki, Ernie, and our fellow Elks. Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you very much, and thank you, fellow veterans, fellow neighbors, honored guests, and friends. Thank you for inviting me to speak today on behalf of this wonderful charity, Wreaths Across America, and for their theme this year, Live with Purpose, or Live with Purpose. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carl Ostergaard. I grew up in Morris Township and lived most of my life here in northern New Jersey, and I've been a proud Springfield resident for the last 4.5 years. Everyone here in Springfield has been wonderful to me and to my family since we moved here as COVID refugees. And after 45 years, Springfield was the place that I chose to put roots down after living a bit of a nomadic lifestyle up to that point. I graduated from Morristown High School in 1992. In my senior year of high school, I joined the New Jersey Army National Guard in October of 1991, less than 3 weeks after my 17th birthday. I served in the Army Guard for 9 years and was honorably discharged. But immediately after becoming a full-time citizen again, I started to miss the military. So I looked into joining the U.S. Air Force Reserve, and I joined in August of 2001, right before 9/11, and I served there to this day, almost 24 years later, and almost 33 years in total. When Donald Trump assumes the presidency, he will be the 6th president and 7th presidential administration that I will have served under, and also my last one, as I am nearing mandatory retirement. What I wanted to speak about today is living with purpose. I was recently listening to someone question the fall of the Roman Empire. Rome was a republic for almost 500 years, an empire for almost 500 more years, and at the eastern end of the Roman Empire endured for 1,000 years after that, meaning that Rome was a nation state at one form or another for just under 2,000 years. The Romans, from like 500 BC to about 14 and change AD, the Romans brought us advances in agriculture and ironworking. They passed revolutionary laws promoting individual ownership of property. They built aqueducts and roads, many of which are still in use today. Truly amazing people and a deep culture. But how did it all come to an end? During the transition from republic to empire, Cicero was against having the power transition from an oligarchy of many to a dictatorship of just one. And surely there were many Romans and only one Octavius who would go on to endure and be crowned as Augustus Caesar. How did the plans of one defeat the desires of the many? How did this happen? Cicero made a series of speeches against this transition, speeches that eventually cost him his life. But in one of the best remembered, he chastised noblemen of Rome by pointing out that they were more concerned with maintaining their fish ponds than to the problems facing the republic. They were home, tending to their own properties, their own amusements, and their own individual goals, willfully blind to what was going on outside their doorsteps, in their communities, or within their country. Do the problems of 40 BC, that's when that happened, do the problems of 40 BC ring a bell here in 2024? We've just gotten through a very tough political season with strong opinions on both sides, with solid and wonderful American citizens and neighbors on both sides. And the common theme that I've picked up from both sides is what has happened to us? What has happened to our country? Are our best days behind us? Are we a good people? Is America a good place? The answer is in our history. The story of America is a story of doers, of people always challenged, and of people that always rose up to meet that challenge. 1776 was Brexit, before Brexit was Brexit. We pushed across this continent, partook in the Industrial Revolution, freed the slaves, and evolved from an agrarian nation to an industrial nation, and now into the world's preeminent information economy. Among our top exports to the world are technology, entertainment, and education. We are the strongest economy, we are the most lethal military, and we are the most ethnically diverse place on earth where everyone from every corner of the world lives together and gets along. For the most part, anyway. There is a very rich history in Springfield, and a bunch of the stuff I wrote we just already heard. In June of 1780, General George Washington and his army were encamped in Morristown, and the British Army and its Hessian mercenaries were trying to engage him and debilitate his army and expand Britain's influence beyond their garrison in New York City. They were garrisoned on Manhattan Island and on Staten Island. The Battle of Springfield took place on the 23rd of June in 1780 as Continental troops and cavalry and American militia stopped the British advance towards Washington and Morristown and ended British aspirations of expansion into New Jersey for the duration of the war, and the war went on for another 3 years. It was one of the last major engagements in the Revolutionary War in the North, as future big battles would take place further south in places like Yorktown and Virginia. It was called the Forgotten Victory because outside of one more engagement, the Battle of Bull's Ferry was that engagement. There were no other major northern conflicts for the duration of the war, like we said, 3 years. In that battle, the Continentals lost 13 killed, 49 wounded, and 9 missing in action. And some of those very heroes are buried right here in Springfield in the 2 cemeteries that we're talking about, both in the Revolutionary War section of the Presbyterian Church Cemetery here on Church Mall, and at the Daughters of the American Revolution Battleground Cemetery at 39 Mountain Avenue. Wreaths Across America is a national movement of dedicated volunteers and communities coming together to remember our nation's fallen, to honor their service, and teach the next generation about the sacrifices made for us to live freely. This year, they have challenged us to live with purpose. When you think about it, decorating a few dozen graves with a wreath for the holiday season is a relatively small thing, but it's very important to remember our history. One of my commanders once reminded me that all of us stand upon the shoulders of giants. You know, everything we've done, other people did other things, and we are where we are because other people got us to this point. Honoring those who came before us, who paved the way for us to be where we are today, is a small but very impactful thing. More importantly, we need to teach the next generation about the men and women that came before us and what they did and what they had to endure in order to sacrifice, sometimes sacrificing their youth, their health, their bodies, even sacrificing their lives. When you see the wreaths upon the Springfield graves later today, then you know that Springfield is a little better than it was last night, even with so small a thing. And then look around. Look for the nouns. Nouns are people, places, things that may need a little help and a little or a lot of assistance with disrepair. Are you not so happy with something going on in our school system? If so, Cicero asks us to get involved, go to meetings, join the PTA, maybe even run for the school board. Look at places like the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Elks, the American Legion, the Friends of the Springfield Library, the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, the Police Auxiliary, the volunteer fire department, and other organizations in town. What are they doing? Do they need help? My mother was once the mayor of Morris Township, and she was, whether you would think of her as a Morris County freeholder or a Morris County freeloader, that was the joke back then. Now they call them county commissioners, so we can't do that anymore. But people would ask her how she was so up on local issues, and she told them that she constantly spoke to as many constituents as she could to find out what local residents wanted or needed, and she tried to move the needle for both political parties because the right thing to do was the right thing to do, regardless of who thought of it first. As residents, we should talk to our elected officials, read the monthly newspaper, shop local, support our shopkeepers and our local businesses, join the Chamber of Commerce if we're in business, live with a purpose. If you get into the mindset of leaving Springfield a little better than you found it, even something incredibly trivial like picking up a piece of litter when you're out walking the dog, everything we do makes a huge difference. Be there for your friends in time of need. Support our youth and teach them that we are the luckiest people in the world to be born in this country With that great gift of being an American comes great responsibility. We inherited a great and beautiful home, and that home is called America. But its lawns need to be mowed. Its walls sometimes get banged up and we could use some spackle and a fresh coat of paint. Its inhabitants often need a friendly ear, a smile, and a warm cup of coffee. Especially after COVID, when we were all isolated from each other, and especially 2024, 2025, when we self-isolate with technology. My parents would ground me and say, "Go to your room." When I ground my daughter, what would I do? I'd take her phone away and say, "Go outside." See, all the good stuff's in the rooms. At least not, from the spring to the fall. I'm not gonna send her out in the winter right now. But I challenge everyone to live with a purpose. It's an attitude. And attitudes are contagious. And ask yourself, is your attitude worth catching? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask Nancy Dunhauser, Vice Regent of the Church and Canon Chapter, to come forward.
Each year, every chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution is allowed to recognize two special individuals in their community for outstanding voluntary service. This can be through voluntary, heroic, civic, or benevolent service, or by organizing or participating in community activities. This award may not be presented to a recipient more than one time. On behalf of the Church and Canon Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, I would like to express our appreciation of two very special residents who have spent countless hours volunteering their time over the years. Our first award goes to Stephen Jerzak. Steve was a Boy Scout Assistant Scoutmaster, Pack 73, is a volunteer for the Union County Master Gardeners, and has been a member of the Springfield Historical Society for 25 years. He helps the DAR maintain the Battleground Cemetery and always does any task without expectation of recognition. Steve, the Church and Canon Chapter would like to present this certificate and pin to you. Our second award goes to James Sanford. Jim was a volunteer member of the Mountainside Fire Department and the Westfield Volunteer Rescue Squad. He is a member of the Springfield Hillside Elks, where he is in the color guard. Jim can always be counted on to assist the DAR at any event, including being our videographer today. Jim, the Church and Canon Chapter would like to present this certificate and pin to you. Thank you.
At the conclusion of our ceremony, we will gather outside at the First Presbyterian Church Cemetery, where we have 32 veterans' graves. Anyone who would like may join us at the Battleground Cemetery, which is just 2 blocks away at 39 Mountain Avenue. There, we have 4 veterans and a monument to the unknowns killed in the Battle of Springfield. If you wish to drive to the cemetery, there's on-street parking as well as a parking lot across the street. And if you are unable to climb the stairs to the cemetery, there are a few spaces that we will use as handicap parking at Smilo Family Dentistry, which is on the same level as the cemetery grounds. Because of the small size of both of these cemeteries, we will be laying wreaths on the gravestones in small groups to give everyone a chance to participate in a meaningful way. Following our stop at the Battleground Cemetery, we will be having a veterans lunch at the Elks Lodge, which has been generously provided courtesy of the Springfield Hillside Elks and Jersey Mikes. If you are a veteran, active duty, or if you would like to visit with them, please make sure that you join us. As we place the wreaths outside, I'd like you to notice the construction of the actual wreath. Just like us, they are not perfect. Each of these wreaths is handmade using only the tips of the branches of the balsam trees grown in Maine. So these trees are not cut down, and the branches are affixed to a special recyclable wreath stand that will not damage the headstones. Because the wreaths are packed tightly in boxes, the greens may need to be fluffed, and the bows may need to be rearranged. And when the wreath is laid on the headstone, please make sure that the bow is at the 12 o'clock position. You place the wreath on the stone, you say the veteran's name if it's legible on the stone, and you say thank you for your service. These evergreens symbolize longevity and endurance. The red bow symbolizes great sacrifice, and the scent of the forest is for purity and simplicity, and the circular shape represents eternity. While these wreaths are beautiful, they are only a symbol. This day is not really about placing wreaths. If there's a Star of David on a headstone, we honor Jewish tradition by placing a small rock on the grave. We could have absolutely nothing with us, and on any given day, we could just stop and say the name of the veteran who is buried before us and say thank you for your service. And that's what we encourage every volunteer here to do today. Whether or not you are actually the one to physically place the wreath on the gravestone, please take a moment to thank our veterans for their service to our country. So because we have so many volunteers today, we will say that this is more about saying thank you for your service than placing the actual wreath. In fact, although there will be 3 million wreaths placed today, many of our nation's veterans will not get a wreath this year, including more than 48,000 buried at Arlington National Cemetery. That's nearly 20% of the cemetery. These wreaths are not guaranteed. They were all either sponsored by an individual such as yourself or by a generous corporate donation. And I think a lot of times people think that these wreaths were given out by the government or something. They're not. They're donated by you and by companies. So beginning today and running through January 17th, all wreaths purchased through a sponsorship group will be matched by a corporate donation. So that's 2 wreaths that go to a cemetery for $17. For those who want to own one of these wreaths, you can order a military tribute pair with the branch flags like you see here, or a Patriot pair with 2 American flags, and Wreaths Across America will ship 1 wreath to you or to a loved one for your front door or for your deceased veteran, and the other will go to the cemetery. That detail is on the back of the program that we got, but the cutoff date for the Wreath Match program was already announced after the programs were printed, so the easiest way to remember it is the wreaths are $17 and the Wreath Match program goes until January 17th, so 17 and 17. So if today was meaningful to you, please consider sponsoring a wreath for next year so that a veteran will get one. We don't need that many here, we only have 40, but there are cemeteries that are placing thousands of wreaths, thousands and thousands. And so if you sponsor a wreath, that wreath, when we have extras, we send them to another cemetery. So none of them get wasted, they all go somewhere. And the Wreaths Across America is actually very generous. They give us $5 back so that we can maintain our cemetery. So that's a really nice program, so you're doing good twice. At this time, Union High School's JROTC Color Guard is going to recite Old Glory, which was written by Sergeant Howard Schnauber.
Upward, forward.
About face!
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am arrogant, I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher. My colors are a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshipped, I am saluted, I am respected, I am revered, I am loved, and I am feared. I fought in every battle, every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of French, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, and a score of other places long forgotten by all but those who were there with me. I was there. I led my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I followed them and watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired, but my sailors and Marines cheered me, and I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th, as cowardly fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloody, would never be beaten. Those who would destroy me cannot win. I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, burnt, torn, and trampled on the streets of countries I have helped set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been soiled, burnt, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country. And when it is by those who I have served in battle, it hurts, but I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. I've been a silent witness of all of America's finest hours, but my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips to use as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly at half-mast to honor my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and when I lie in the trembling arms of grieving mother at the gravesite of her son or daughter, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wait. Dear God, long may I wait. Center, peace!
Thank you. Aren't they wonderful? I'd like to ask Jerry Ann Casimir, past exalted ruler of the Springfield Hillside Elks Lodge 2004, to lead us in singing God Bless America. Would you please stand?
3, 10, 4.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Reverend Van from the First Presbyterian Church will give the benediction.
Almighty God, only you know the full extent of the sacrifices that these men and their families made. Now they rest with you. We can also rest knowing that they are not forgotten, but celebrated, honored, and point the way to an even brighter, safer, and honorable future. Let us take a moment to give thanks now in silence. And now, as we place a wreath on each grave, be watchful, stand firm in your faith, be courageous and strong, and continue to rely on the Almighty as your guide, your guardian, and your protector from now and forevermore. Amen.
Please place your hand over your heart or render the military salute as Jack Rauschenberger plays taps, and then our color guard will display.
Or her arms. Right?